Quinn. Hi, my name is Hank.
And I'm Elaine. Imagine having consensual sex with your partner. You do everything that you can to protect yourself from getting pregnant. You take your birth control pills as they're prescribed, and just to be sure, your partner also wears a condom. A couple weeks go by, and you realize that you haven't received your period. But you can't be pregnant, right? You've done everything that you can to protect yourself with the exception of abstinence. But to be sure, you take a pregnancy test. And to your surprise, it's positive. You make the difficult decision to end the pregnancy. The pregnancy that you and your partner did everything you could to ensure that didn't happen. But here's the catch. You live in Texas, where according to the Texas State Law Library, Texas law prohibits any and all abortions, including cases of rape and incest. The only legal exception is if the patient's health or life are at risk. This hypothetical represents the reality many women face. Decisions about their bodies, their health, and their futures are being shaped by laws rather than conversations with their healthcare providers. Women's reproductive healthcare decisions should be left to individuals and their providers rather than determined by government regulation to protect bodily autonomy and privacy rights. So where does the United States stand when it comes to women's healthcare rights? The European Board of College and Obstetrics and Gynecology reported that when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, it removed the constitutional protection for access to abortion that existed for almost 50 years, meaning a woman's right to health care has been revoked. According to a policy analysis by the Guttmacher Institute, after the law changed, 26 states were expected to quickly remove and ban abortion. The impact of these restrictions have significant health, financial, and emotional consequences. As Gostin wrote in the article, the U.S. turns its back on women's reproductive rights. 21 million women worldwide receive unsafe abortion care. Of these women, 68,000 of them die as a result. These are not just numbers. They represent real women whose healthcare needs were not met and resulted in devastating consequences. Another report issued by the Commonwealth Fund, Healthcare for Women, How the U.S. Compares Internationally, states that the U.S. has the highest maternal death rate of high-income nations. These stats demonstrate the serious consequences that can occur when women face barriers to accessing healthcare. There are also financial and emotional consequences for an individual in a state where access has been limited. PlannedParenthoodAction.org notes that patients will travel hundreds, if not thousands of miles from their home to access the care they need, incurring the cost of travel, which can include airfare, gas, food, hotels. Additionally, these patients rarely have a support person with them, causing even more distress in a situation that's already stressful. You may be asking yourself, why? Why is this happening in the United States? The answer is really simple. We have allowed the government to make decisions around women's rights that are not knowledgeable or trained to do so. A national survey of OBGYN's experiences after Dobbs by Sobel, Fredrickson, and Dawson notes that 42% of OBGYNs are concerned about their own legal risk when it comes to making these decisions with their patients. The risk could include hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines, their medical license being revoked, and even jail time if the state that they practice in do not feel that they met the requirements of the law. Unfortunately, this means that we are more concerned about the consequences that may happen versus the care that a patient needs. For centuries, women's rights have been used as a political tool to gain popularity. Guttmacher's fact sheet, published in October of 2024, discusses how Project 2025 will obliterate sexual and reproductive human rights. This includes changing the Department of Health and Human Services name into the Department of Life, which will have an anti-abortion task force. Now that we understand the problem and the cause, you might be wondering what the solution is. The solution is access to comprehensive reproductive health care, ensuring that preventative care, including screenings, contraception, and prenatal care, are easily accessible to women, ensuring that medical decisions are left up to the patient and their care provider. There is no place for federal regulation in these choices or discussions. When decisions around women's health care are placed in the hands of those that are lacking in knowledge and understanding, we as a society suffer. No one should be able to make decisions for you around your body or your health care. This topic can be very personal and uncomfortable to discuss. However, you have the ability to change someone's life by supporting the protection of women's healthcare rights, allowing them to make an informed decision regardless of finances, political stances, or religious beliefs. I hope that you take away from today an understanding of how important it is to be informed, to do your research, and to understand the decisions that the government makes does in fact affect you. Perhaps not right now, but at some point in your life, someone you love may require access to this kind of care. And my hope for you is that there are no restrictions limiting them receiving it. There should never be a limit on women's health care access. Thank you.